First, Mr. Gerstenmaier, am I saying that right? In your discussion with Congressman Rohrbacher, you made the statement, we absolutely have need the benefit of low Earth orbit for deep space. Why is that?
Again, you've kind of heard it from some of the other panel members, but it's very difficult to do research and new development around the moon. Just the transportation costs of getting there are much, much higher than they are in low Earth orbit. The cost of doing that activity is much more difficult. Doing that development activity in low Earth orbit is exactly the right place to do that, and then you can take that, and after it's developed, then extend it to the lunar position.
Right, okay, so you're reiterating, I got that. Do you know the ISS, what its footprint or its cubic feet is, or how big it is?
It's roughly the size of a 5-bedroom house. Internal dimensions, lengthwise, it's about the size of a football field.
Weight?
900,000 pounds.
Longevity, how long does it last in space?
We have studies that shows that it can last structurally till 2028 and probably be extended beyond 2028.
Will it fall to Earth eventually?
If we don't reboost it, our plan is to either deconstruct it, bring it apart in pieces, use those pieces for some other application, or deorbit it essentially as a large piece safely into the ocean.
Well, if you deorbit it into the ocean, does most of it burn up?
Yes, majority of it would burn up. Some small pieces would probably make the surface.
Majority, you can keep your mic on for a minute.
All right, sure.
Majority being, when you say majority of it would burn up, 60, 70, 80%?
Probably 90% or so, maybe even 95%. There's several large structural components. There's some large structural titanium pieces and some large aluminum structure that probably would make the surface of the Earth based on our models.
Okay, but we would still maintain the capability of steering that, for lack of a better term, into where we wanted it to go.
Yeah, we would steer that such that the footprint would be over the Pacific Ocean, and it actually stretches multiple miles. We actually look at a descent profile that would stretch a couple 100 miles across the ocean of where the debris potentially could land. We've actually investigated that with some of our cargo vehicles. When they return, they also are destructively burned up. We have purposely lowered the angle of attack of which those vehicles come into the atmosphere to make them shallower, similar to what the station would be. So we'll actually know what that quantified footprint is, so we can ensure that when station is destructively re-entered, it can not impact any human inhabitants on the Earth.
Okay, Doc, you can turn your mic off now. Dr. Linnell, would you say your report essentially ruled out the idea of a commercial space station and that we should definitely pursue privatization?
Our report ruled out a fully commercially viable station, as in without any government subsidies, the commercial sector will not make any money.
Is it based on the space station he just described?
Absolutely not. The station that was part of our model is about a third the size, 330 cubic meters rather than 930 cubic meters.
It's smaller.
A third the size, and it's also a 20th the mass. As I said earlier, commercial stations, I mean, you know, space stations, Battlestar Galactica. Commercial parties may not need that.
Okay. Okay. Let me go to Dr. Cantwell. Do you think that the difference in operations among different low Earth orbit use cases suggests that a few smaller purpose-built private facilities, more than one, may succeed where a larger general purpose platform is not viable on a purely commercial basis?
I'll attempt to answer that more as an engineer, if you
Sure.
will go with that. There are operational requirements which could be met by a small number or even a large number of alternative platforms. The challenge is the cost of the people who are conducting those experiments on orbit, the launch cost to get the scientific material up there and back. So we've recommended a sort of a full cost assessment of the needed science for this very reason. You can then look at, can it be conducted in what are established as a series of platforms.
Okay, I'm getting really low on time, but let me just, so if you had one in a certain orbit, I don't know how many miles that would be, if you expanded the next one above it to 10 miles, 20 miles further out, Would there be benefits, obviously, in having 3 different layers, for example, of orbits?
There could be for certain science. I would say that, again, the massive driver for all of this from the science perspective for human exploration missions is the duration of time in microgravity that studies can be conducted and the radiation environment. So there would be a difference if you went high enough in the radiation.
Are you able to quantify that, the difference in radiation and the difference?
I don't know that we've actually looked at it specifically from that perspective, but the mid-decadal study does characterize the radiation studies that are needed.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Sir, thank you.